And now back to your regular programming.
If you speak better to yourself.
You showed up for probably the dumbest conversation we've ever had on this show.
Let's have that smile again.
Tell me how that happens. Physically should not happen.
Relax.
If you say
Give me as well.
3 times a day, God will line it up.
He's just an absolute hack, and he gets his ass kicked by the teammates every week. It's just terrible.
The divisional round of the NFL playoffs this year lived up to the hype. Some of the best games that we've gotten all season. We're going to recap all of that. Before we get there, Sean, where can you share with our listeners that they could go and place some bets on the championship round?
BetOnline, they continue to be the world's most trusted betting platform. Your number one source for online betting in 2025. No one is expecting me to come on here and say I was a big winner over the weekend, but I was upwards into the triple digits and maybe past the first triple digit number, Joe. Caught fire. I was seeing the board in a different way. I know
it's hard to believe.
You can get in the zone too, but sniping a Ravens plus 3.5 live and a Bills win. Who was the sicko that was going to find that margin? Me. I'm the sicko. I'm dialed. I am locked in. Touchdowns, 3-pointers, hat tricks. BetOnline has you covered on every game, every play, every win. If you got YouTube TV, just start scanning because there's going to be some sporting event on during the middle of the day that I'm sure BetOnline has you covered. Me and Joe just found one today while we're taping.
Well, there's a bit of a... Never mind.
BetOnline, the game starts here.
All right, Sean, as we said, divisional round of the playoffs was freaking awesome. First game, though, that we had between the Chiefs and the Texans, a little bit anticlimactic. It played exactly as one could have guessed. If you didn't even watch this game, you could have predicted that it was a crap load of late hits on Patrick Mahomes that resulted in drives being extended and the ball continuing to move, despite it feeling like the Texans were getting the right amount of pressure, were starting to get after him, and that he could get slowed down. I think, let's just get this out of the way before we actually talk about the game. Is the conspiracy theory legitimate that the NFL is clearly giving a little bit of help to the Chiefs with the amount of instances that Patrick Mahomes is running around, or even when he's in the pocket? Oh, what do you know? The most inexplicable late hit penalty that you've ever seen. And then the commentators are sitting there going, I don't know if that was really a late hit. Is the conspiracy theory legitimate, or are we putting our tinfoil hats on a little bit too much?
Let me tell you why it's a good conspiracy theory, and it's because not a lot of people want to be in this reality to understand this. This is some early 2000s, mid 2000s Patriots dynasty stuff. This is understanding the rules better than your opponents, understanding the circumstances where you could get a big play like this. And I don't think it's all Mahomes. I think that just because the Chiefs have a super affable head coach, Andy Reid, who could dislike Andy Reid? No one would think Andy Reid is someone that could go deep dive into the rule book and figure out how to get penalties from his superstar quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, drawn. Oh, it's all him. I think he's a genius, and he hides behind the cheeseburger-loving, Hawaiian shirt-wearing
I'm surprised that
you're
basically taking the Chiefs side on this. You're saying that the officials have nothing to do with it, and it's more so Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes knowing how to game the system.
Oh, I think Andy Reid knows exactly what he's got going.
Yeah, but wait,
the refs, trust me, they're not without fault, because they could man up and say, "Hey, no, that's not football." But because they're perfected it, like this is the Chiefs tush push, where the Eagles just found a way to get fourth and ones converted. Chiefs found a way to get an extra 15 yards every time Patrick Mahomes surpasses the line of scrimmage.
The stuff that they do where Mahomes runs on the sideline and then just kind of waits until he gets popped and he'll run out of bounds before that contact comes. But I think it was Will Anderson early in the game where he kind of just shoves Mahomes and they claim that it was head-to-head contact. Like that one, the officials, and that's where the conspiracy theory comes into play. To not look, I support the Chiefs. I'm rooting for the Chiefs during this, but it's kind of hard to deny that there isn't some sort of involvement. The NFL very clearly would love to have Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and all of these likable individuals that the casual fan can just tap into and go, oh, hey, I know those guys. I know who they are. There's got to be something here. And I tweeted this out. I had some people trying to disagree with me on this, which I found very odd. Patrick Mahomes is in the middle of his career where LeBron was, where he was doing amazing things on the field, and he bitched and moaned and flopped, and the officials gave him a lot of calls that helped him.
Yeah.
I think that he's in that pocket. And there's other comparisons that we can add to this, where Mahomes comes in right when the original GOAT was leaving, and they went to head-to-head, and said original GOAT got the best of it. That guy retires. Now it's their turn. Actually, wait, no. Michael Jordan wasn't in the NBA. And
No, they just overlapped. Michael Jordan was early 2000s.
that was when he was with the Wizards, right?
Yeah. They
So
ran
I'm not
like
off
an
base
open
with
gym
that.
together while LeBron was in high school.
Okay. I thought it was crazy there for a second.
No, very close together.
The comparison here, though, I think is very true, and the truest part of it is the NBA understanding and knowing, hey, we got to give him favorable calls, because the more that this guy plays, the more that the casual fan will go to a bar with his buddies during the playoffs and just sit and watch a game that he typically wouldn't normally watch. The same thing applies here for the Chiefs. Like, we can't act like this isn't some sort of non-spoken directive.
Well, you could tell a casual fan during the playoffs, you can tell exactly who they are when they're aghast when penalties where it's just a hard hit don't get called in the playoffs. Like, there's different styles. Like, we have to come to accept that the game is officiated differently when the playoffs start. You're not going to get a bunch of ticky-tacky PI calls. You're not going to get a bunch of stuff that typically moves the game ahead at a faster pace with big chunk penalties, and they let the fellas hit more, which I love. It's the best. It's my favorite aspect of NFL playoffs is that we're actually going to see some guys booming each other without total impactful consequence. Which fine. That's the spirit of football. It's a violent game. I love it. I love seeing Jared Goff get laid out. But if we're doing that, then letting Mahomes get away with super tick-tacky, skittish in the open field, and I'm going to get down super late type penalties, that goes against the way that you're now enforcing it. So if we're going to have playoff penalties, which I'm in favor of, we need to kind of get rid of the non-playoff penalties that Patrick Mahomes is still getting called, especially before the next round against the Bills, where it's going to be the biggest football game of the year and could draw a bigger number than the Super Bowl. It won't, because it's not the Super Bowl, but for ball knowers, it's the next round of the AFC is the pinnacle. So you have to be ready for it, and I can't see a bunch of the tic-tac calls in that one.
It's really crazy that the Texans outperformed just in yardage, 336 to 212. That was one of the most obscure and insane statistics that comes out of the weekend. The one thing for the Texans side that's very clear, the Chiefs had way too much of an easy time generating pressures. They had 9 tackles for loss and 8 sacks. They had 14 quarterback hits. Plain and simple, oh my God, Caserio, you need to go and spend money on offensive linemen. You need to spend high draft picks on offensive linemen. I know that they just drafted Blake Fisher and they've had a couple of early picks on this O-line, but they got to really shore this thing up because it's a mess. The current group of guys are not getting the job done, and CJ Stroud's worst performances have come because he's getting blasted in the face as soon as the ball is snapped.
8 sacks is unacceptable. Flip side, Patrick Mahomes with a good offensive line against a really good front seven that gets to the quarterback. 3 sacks. It is definitely the difference in the game. Houston's offensive protection was so poor all game, and I kept Kansas City in it. If they had any semblance, and I am, God, and am I an offensive line apologist? And I someone that will point the finger at the quarterback for holding the ball, slow release, any of it. This was a bad performance from them, and they need to get right, because next year when Houston is in this situation, they're just going to dial it up again for you unless you find a way to get it right in the offseason. That's, if you think you have a big body, go ahead, get a bigger body. Do what Philly did. Philly just found the biggest humans and turned them into athletes. Said, hey, Mekhi Becton, you're not a tackle, you're a guard. What did he do? He had a pretty good year at guard and really helped the offensive line. Houston needs to find some big guys in the interior, make your tackles guards, figure out what you need to do. You could even put Titus Howard at the right guard position. I'd be fine with it. I think he could be a serviceable guard. And if you think you have a better athlete, you could drive or draft for the right side tackle position. But 8 sacks is unforgivable in this game against the Chiefs.
Will Campbell will be on the board when they're drafting. If I am the Texans, I am drafting Will Campbell, and I am moving him to guard, and I am starting him at right guard. That's the first thing that I'm doing.
He could play either in my offense, but I would entertain that idea.
Okay, good. His former college teammate, Jayden Daniels, Sean, Jayden Daniels, plain and simple, has had the greatest rookie season of all time. What he has been able to do in these clutch situations is something that we've never seen before. I think back to the times in which other rookies got their teams to the conference championship round. Mark Sanchez, Ben Roethlisberger are some of the most recent ones. Brock Purdy did it recently as well. They were leaning on playmakers. They were leaning on their defenses. Jayden Daniels has freaking done this with a bunch of, let's call it what it is, cast-offs. Austin Eckler, Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, a bunch of guys that were way over their primes and are at the very end of their careers. A bunch of guys that people depicted at the beginning of the year were just fill-in players on one of the worst rosters in the NFC and maybe the entire NFL. I would actually go as far as to say I'm a little bit disenfranchised by the fact that Jayden Daniels isn't in the MVP conversation, because as much as we talk and we have this discourse for what the award should mean and how Josh Allen has a really tough situation having to lift up his team that doesn't have any really good weapons or receivers, Jayden Daniels is doing that with just a really mediocre team. He's making plays in the unexpected, and he's raising the energy level of the performance of this team on defense. You can see that everybody is going out there fighting tooth and nail to keep them alive. Jayden Daniels has earned every ounce of respect that he needs to get, and I would argue that he should have been in the MVP conversation during the regular season.
We're going to see the blueprints, the Jayden Daniels blueprint moving forward more often, I think, and I hope, because I think it's a smart plan.
I don't like this take, but continue.
You don't know exactly what the take's going to be.
No, I know what the take. I just don't think this is replicable. I think this is a rarity.
Oh,
that's how rare Jayden Daniels is.
It's rare. It's very rare. They hit the mega lottery ticket as the Washington Commanders continue to move deeper into the playoffs, knocking off the behemoth Detroit Lions, who had their way with everybody. Incredible, just awesome theater. I like having a 23 to 24-year-old rookie quarterback. I think that the previously in vogue 21-year-old quarterback, 22-year-old quarterback as a rookie, out. Unless you're sitting them 23, 24, that's when you're making your debut in the Sean Anderson system. Also, surrounding your rookie quarterback with just insane longtime vets. You mentioned them, Bobby Wagner, Ertz, Jamison Crowder. Go ahead, bring in all these guys that have been in the league, especially in a first year if you don't have those high enough expectations. You can't get enough good influences on the young guy, and that's what Washington did. Bobby Wagner didn't have a good last 2 years. He went from Seattle to the Rams, back to Seattle, and now finally landed himself in Washington. Why? Why would you ever come here? Oh, now I see why.
Says the guy from Washington.
Now I got out of there. And I'm jealous because the formerly dead-ass city is on the absolute they got brought back from the dead.
Dude taking shots at his hometown.
Jayden Daniels brought this devoid, just sports fan crippled city dead in the water. Wizards are the worst team in baseball. Nats been rebuilding for years. Commanders, 3 name changes and have had no upwards momentum. And now look at them. NFC Championship game. Absurdity. Joe, I wore my Chris Cooley bar jersey out to the bar. It was a hit. People love Cooley. Cooley's cool again. I'm telling it is a different era. I haven't seen this kind of juice in my life. This eclipses 2012
also
for this team.
A little bit of stolen valor out there by you for all these long-suffering, and you were with a group of some of which are Commanders fans.
Majority
Commanders they
fans.
should have been pissed at you, and I hope that they were. The stolen valor of that fan base suffering for as long as they did, and you just roll in showing up. I'm going to wear my Chris Cooley jersey. Oh, I represent DC, DMV, man. We represent the area.
You know what? I do represent my area.
And I love Chris Cooley. You just shit-talked it. What are you talking about?
They didn't have.
You're a Falcons fan.
Oh, yeah.
Don't show up with that shit.
Oh,
don't.
Hey, guess what I did?
Don't be a Falcons fan. Pick a lane.
No. I'm a Falcons fan. But growing up there, seeing the pain, I'm supporting my brothers. I am supporting my family by rooting for the Commanders now. By bringing big old 47 out of the bathroom. I hid it all night, by the way, under my sweatshirt. Broke it out for kickoff. Huge pop.
No, you should have worn a black sweatshirt. I think
I was wearing a black sweatshirt.
I think this is poor fanmanship. If that's a word. I think that this should not be allowed in the NFL of all leagues, where there is just so much contention between fan bases. For you just to, they're both in the NFC as well. For you just to kind of be like, yeah, today I'm going to root for the guys because we made it this far.
I got love for that team. That's the hometown
Wear a
team.
black sweatshirt. Root for them quietly. That's the requirement.
I was front of the bar. High five of the bartender. Free shots because she was a Commanders fan. I'm telling you, Joe. I showed great sportsmanship.
This is disgusting. This is disgusting. This is I'm sickened by this.
Oh my God! I was rallying the troops.
You don't have a reason to rally the troops.
I grew up there. My whole family is Washington fans.
You're an outside onlooker because you chose at a young age to root for another team.
Correct.
Stick to rooting for that team.
I do. I'm showing support. I think it's okay to show some support.
Actually, it's not even a goalpost moving. The way that you are wrapping your head around this to make it okay.
Oh, you're trying. No. You are spin doctoring to make it more not okay than okay.
Here's a good example. I, at a very young age, randomly in middle school, I'm a Phillies fan. Just randomly chose to be a Phillies fan.
Sure.
If I suddenly started showing up and rooting for the Yankees this past year when they were in the World Series,
yeah,
you would have called me the biggest piece of shit in the world.
If you said,
I was betting on them, but I wasn't rooting for them.
If you had said, I've been betting, or I've been listening to WFAN all my life, Mike and the Mad Dog are my heroes. They've been talking Yankees.
They are. I used to listen to them all the time. I used to listen to them every day going back to and from school every single day. But that doesn't mean that I can claim them.
But you've never gone to Yankees games with your friends. I've gone to tons of Skins games.
Yes.
What are you talking about?
I've been to a million Yankees games with my friends in high school and in college. What are you talking about?
I got one Chris Cooley jersey and it gets a pop every time. I wore it at Lambeau. I wore it multiple times in DC. It's a great bit.
If you had like a Jared Goff or like a Jahmyr Gibbs jersey, you just decided to throw it on, and that would, I think, be less crazy, because for you to deliberately choose a team outside of the market in which you grew up in order to make this pivot back to the minute that they're succeeding.
It's not a pivot back. It is not a pivot back.
Suddenly be a part of the gang.
It is just me being happy. It's just me being happy for the crew. And you know what? When I saw a Goff or Monty jersey, you know what I did to him? In the bar.
Yeah, you shouldn't have. You're lucky I didn't come with you.
Oh, yeah.
You're lucky I didn't come with you. I would have been on your ass.
You would have been asleep by the fourth quarter. You come with us.
I was not asleep by the fourth quarter.
Give me a break.
We talked a little bit about on the actual fan bases that are likable, unlike Sean being the most unlikable fan in New York City, which is I don't know how you've accomplished that.
I guess so.
We talked about how Lions fans, they were the most likable team coming into this game, and it was going to hurt their chances. The most likable team just never ends up finishing. It's always the teams that you hate. There's always going to be a team that makes your skin crawl that gets to the Super Bowl. Surprisingly, and I hate this media outlet, Woodward Sports has always been a bunch of dickheads. They went after Ryan one time because he did a mock draft where he projected them to get a tight end, and they didn't have anything to talk about. So for a whole day, all of their shows lost their mind over Ryan's mock draft.
Oh, sure.
Not even they're not going to take a tight end. Calling him an asshole, saying he's like who the hell is this guy and what's he talking about? They're not going to take a tight end.
They were mocking
Michael Mayer. He projected Michael Mayer.
Well, that's ridiculous, Michael Mayer.
But the same year they drafted Sam Laporta. Same year, so they drafted a tight end. So it didn't even matter. I don't even know the guy's name, and I didn't even bother to look it up. You've definitely saw the clips where this one guy he made the Lions unlikable for the week. He had a quote where he said that, implying that Jayden Daniels to try the Lions and he was going to get hurt. He had this whole diatribe about how if you're going to, Commanders fans, if you're going to start getting all hyped up and supporting your team, they weren't talking anything crazy. I didn't see Commanders fans talking anything crazy this week. Oh. And he was acting like that the Lions have earned this right that the Commanders shouldn't even show up and talk, to even say anything, that the game is already over before it even started. And they lost. That was the craziest part about all of this, is that the Detroit media, as much as I loved this team, made them unlikable, and I was rooting against them during this.
Yeah, we had two new money franchises beefing, and that's always entertaining for me because it's not like the 49ers fans and Steelers fans or really blue chip NFL franchises. You got 4+ Super Bowls, whatever. Or you haven't been in an insanely awful rut like the Commanders and Lions have. You both had great years. You had new money, so you feel like you're at the top of the world. Lions, I expected more from their media, I guess, because how bad have the Lions been our entire lives? Have some humility and grace. Understand the moment. Understand the world of the football gods and that they will smite you for getting too big for your britches.
Yeah.
And Commanders fans, sneaky annoying also. They're very new money.
Again, here you are talking shit about them. You're talking shit about them, and you're like, I'm gonna wear my Chris Cooley jersey. This is why I'm losing my mind, Sean. This is why I'm losing my mind.
Everyone wants to lose their mind on the lone sole most objective sports analyzer in the game. All right, they're very.
Did you just call yourself an objective analyzer?
Yeah,
get your ass out of here.
That's exactly what I am.
Finish your point.
I could be annoyed by both franchises, but yeah, the Lions. You went too hard. You went too hard too early. You flipped it all. I'm sure I'm the menace. Break out your Clippers jersey.
I don't know.
Hack. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure that didn't make the move.
I don't have one. I legitimately have a Kawhi Leonard T-shirt because I'm a Kawhi Leonard fan. I'm not a Clippers
jersey.
fan.
You are not. You're such
You're
such a lying liar. You stink. The Lions went too hard. If they had just thrown some jabs and were like, yeah, we're excited for this matchup. Ford Field's going to be rocking. Everyone's going to be, I think that Dan Campbell and them have the momentum. I would understand that. But unfortunately, you got ahead of yourselves, and the Commanders just stayed even-keeled because they have an absolute killer at quarterback that doesn't get phased by the moment. Probably his best attribute. If we're talking, it's like it's something they're doing at LSU where they teach these quarterbacks how to not care about any outside noise or the moment. It's nutso because he's got some of that Joe Burrow in him also.
The last thing with this game before we move on here, I have made this statement multiple times, and I don't think that we've had more proof after these 2 rounds of the playoff, because I look at what happened with Sam Darnold and I look at what happened with Jared Goff. This is something that will not be received well because I think the casual fan does not understand what this means. Great quarterbacks find ways to beat great teams. This is why I thought that Matthew Stafford, the snow and stuff was too much for them, but why Matthew Stafford completely exposed that Vikings team. The guys with the traits, the guys with the tools that are in elite categories are always going to be able to find ways to help their team win. It's why Patrick Mahomes has gotten as far as he has. It's why Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen rise above the rest, and they create these amazing playoff moments that we see. Jared Goff has done some great things for this team, and he has helped them re-enter the world of them being in relevance for the Super Bowl conversation. But his performance needs to be recognized as being, it was awful. It was bad. One of the interceptions was a late pick that he threw. He was not anywhere near the level of performing that he needed to be for them to win. He was a detraction for them. And the reason for that is him being a B quarterback. The minute that pressure starts to bear down on him, the minute that they go down by a couple of scores, the minute that he has an interception, he's not the type of guy physically to be able to rise the rest of his team that's battling through injuries to play at that elite level. He's just not that guy. Jayden Daniels is. Jayden Daniels is the type of player that when his receivers aren't getting open, he extends plays with his legs. He is able to find and create and show the poise and the patience and to use his arm and his mobility, all of it, to just bring up the roster around him. This is very philosophical approach to explaining teams and their success, but we see it time and time and time and time again. And I had freaking people in our comments saying that, how could you compare Jimmy Garoppolo to Jared Goff? They're the same thing. They're the same freaking thing. They literally did the same freaking thing that when they were tested and in a serious make or break, shut up or go home situation, they faltered because they don't have the tools to ascend and reach that next level.
Yeah, Jared Goff is, the Tom Brady of the Jared Goff level, if that makes sense, where he's the best of that B quarterback, can move you along.
Jared Goff is the Tom Brady of Jared Goff's, is what you just said?
Yes, exactly. And I think Jared Goff, people are already trying to speculate, is this Lions run over? No, I don't think so. I think if the defense was healthier, I think if Montgomery didn't have that injury that late in the season and he stays on his pace, we are maybe looking at a tighter ball game. And you caught a white hot Washington team that's giving shades of some of these like 2008 Giants teams where wild card, who could even imagine? Nobody's even considering them a threat. That's football. It happens every year. There's a team every year that does do something shocking like this. I don't think Detroit's door is closed. I think that they get healthy, they get right. They've been drafting their asses off lately. So if they can keep this up, and I think having Jared Goff for this team in this moment is still a good thing because there is still a level of safety and practicality with not taking a massive swing on a young quarterback when you have Jared Goff, who's shown that he can win games. It's the best offense. It's still the best quarterbacking he's played in his NFL career, light years above what he was doing in LA.
Yeah.
So I still think the trajectory's there. I hope Detroit keeps it together because what a fun season for them and a great run. A good Detroit Lions team elevates the NFC North to new heights, which we saw this year, and makes football way more fun.
I don't know what quarterback would compare at the current moment to Matthew Stafford at the time of the original trade, but how insane would it be if Jared Goff got traded for another guy that was like elite traits and just needed a new situation to get over the top, and who theoretically would that be that's like a really gifted player that's in a bad situation at the current? Actually, this isn't going to happen, but like imagine if he gets traded for Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
in like a couple of years. Like they're just like, all right, you know what, Jared, I'm sorry, this isn't working. We need the premier guy, and then Joe Burrow's in the situation of these guys aren't investing in me financially enough to succeed and get where I need to go. Like that's the example that I can immediately think of.
I go to Dak because
Dak's another.
I know the problem is they literally
Dak
just
is the Dak of Jared Goff. He's in that Jared Goff category.
But no, I truly believe Dak is a great quarterback, especially with his arm. But the Cowboys just did not do him any one singular favor this offseason. So I don't know if it's another year of total crumble. I could see Dak maybe.
Yeah, but I just don't think like Dak is like one of those like premier ridiculous.
He's not, but
athletes.
He can do it all. He's not going to always meet the moment, but he can he can make all the throws. I will concede that to Dak Prescott. When things are going well, he has shown me that he does have top 10 capability in him, even though he's probably always going to be sitting in my 11 or 12 spot.
Yeah, I can't think of who else. Joe Burrow is like one of the better examples I can think of, but it's probably not going to happen. Sean, as a Giants fan, I am in living hell because the Eagles won, and now we have two NFC East teams competing with one another for the Super Bowl, meaning that I am going to have to root aggressively hard for the Chiefs or the Bills, which I am completely fine with. 28-22 against the Rams. The snow started to come down, and that was when the Rams started to crumble quite a bit. A little bit of credit needs to be given to the Rams, though. I don't think a lot of people understand the craziness of a team that plays in a dome in Los Angeles that doesn't see really any inclement weather that is going to slow them down, that they hung in as long as they did, and that they were able to actually almost get back into this game and win it. I thought they were going to be able to pull it off. It was just a little bit too much for them, and Saquon was a little bit too much for them. But I can't help but focus on this, man. I'm just so unbelievably frustrated by the fact that I have to, and I was obviously rooting for the Rams. I'm so unbelievably frustrated that I have to pick between the Commanders and the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl. I'm obviously picking the Commanders because I can't stand the Eagles. You're not a Commanders fan, so don't act like you're thanking me for anything.
I'm on the bandwagon.
Shut up. I am so distraught, though, by this reality that I'm now in, that one of them gets to say that they played in the Super Bowl this year. It's probably going to be the Eagles. It's not
like the Commanders turned it around in 1 year, and other teams have been trying since 2017.
Shut your mouth.
The Eagles, the good win. All right, you win in the snow, you win at home. That is something we have to respect. Rams played your asses off. Jared Verse, star in the making. You see
Jared Verse is a dog. He knocked some heads. He played up to the all the Eagles fans who were trying to be all mad.
The pregame chat with him and Jalen. He balled out. They both did.
He played up to all of the the shit talking.
That was a great layer to this game. And the Rams, soft hands. That hurt you. Staffy putting the ball on the ground. Kyron putting the ball on the ground. Those are tough. And if you're not playing in the snow all year, these are the moments that might hurt you, where you're not. in the cold. You're not practicing with the water balls, whatever it is. But the Eagles moving on, and they're doing it with the run game, is so scary because it feels like they can unlock it at any point. And on the flip side, it doesn't feel like they have their pass game unlocked at all. Sirianni, still a huge moron, taking the ball out of Saquon's hands.
Oh my God, the fact that they had an opportunity to win the
crumble.
game.
Like we were talking about it.
I was so rooting for that comeback to happen because then we could have been so toxic on here about the Eagles. And before any Eagle fans hop in the comments and say, like, you guys are just Eagles haters. Yes. No, you're very apt at picking that up.
Yeah.
Shocked. We're Eagles haters. We don't like you. Most of the world doesn't like you. But yeah, I was really hoping that we could come on here and shit talk Sirianni for completely blowing it.
I mean, honest to God, you just watched Saquon Barkley break the game open. He puts a knife in the back. And then somehow the game's not dead yet. You still have a ton of time, like well over 2 minutes on the clock. What do we need to do now? Let's start tossing it around. Let's have Jalen Hurts roll out and try to throw one to the flat so the wide receiver can get out of bounds. What a moron. What a stupid decision to take the game-breaking running back that brought you to prominence, saved your ass in this game, and take the ball out of his hands. Why? Why would you ever do that? So confusing. And now it's, rain, sleet, or snow. The Eagles are ready to go. Thanks, Jalen Hurts.
Dorkiest, most Dr. Seuss ass line.
You know what? And he's not being vicious, and I think he's a good dude. He's a good quarterback. Not great. You say this stuff, it turns people against you somehow. And this is it's a fine quote. This is a nothing quote. He'd be a great Harbaugh quarterback. But you're a Philly quarterback. This is getting absurd. You need to throw for over 200 yards at some point, pal. We need you to do that. And you had a great rushing touchdown, but they're crumbling. They are not without their weaknesses and flaws. And it's a little bit everywhere. Now, obviously, the defense helped.
A lot of it comes from the man up top.
Yeah, a lot of it comes from that doofus on the sidelines. But, they're winning games. What do I know? And I think he might have the best coaching winning percentage since he came into the league. So maybe I'm the big bully. Maybe I'm the one that just can't handle the success.
That's probably it. The Bills survived a comeback attempt by the Baltimore Ravens. This thing at halftime looked like it was going to get ugly, but the Ravens rallied, Lamar rallied, and he made some great plays. Derrick Henry had a couple nice runs. Josh Allen was kind of just there, did enough to help his team win, had a Patrick Mahomes-esque performance where it felt like the defense was the unit that stepped up, and he just did enough to not take them out of it, which had been something that had occurred in the past for the Bills. Here's the thing, though, Sean. The discourse for the MVP debate, the votes are taken care of and done. It gets so much more toxic after this game, which I love. I love toxic debates. But I don't think we got an answer because we get Josh Allen who goes 16 of 22 for 127 yards. He's 10 carries for 20 yards. It does enough to help his team win. Not the sole reason why they won. Lamar had a really good late drive that I don't agree with, and people were saying that Mark Andrews should have caught that ball. You should have ran the ball. It is frigid ass temperatures. The ground, there's snow on the ground. The ball's probably still a little bit wet. I don't really get that decision to try and throw the ball. You've got a 240-pound running back on that 2-point conversion. You should have let him get those 2 points for you. But Lamar had an awful first half. He had plenty of mistakes. I don't think we got an answer. I don't think that we did. I really don't think that we got an answer for the MVP debate.
I think it's over, and it's on this one. Unfortunately, came down to a head-to-head matchup where neither guy played great, but you have to almost give the nod to the winning quarterback at this point. And because if Lamar went out and threw for 400,
did he win them the game?
If Lamar went out and threw for 400 yards, and
that's kind of a crazy.
Fine. If he went out and threw for 300 and ran for 100 and had
if he
three
didn't
total
have
touchdowns,
the turnovers that he had, then we would be talking about Lamar right now.
But if he had a great game in a loss, then I think there would be enough contrarians and also people that believe it that they could make the argument, well, Lamar's team let him down. It's all the drop.
There's enough contrarians right now that are literally doing that despite him making bad mistakes that took them out of the game.
Pick was awful. That first pick was awful.
Yeah.
It was all for the haters. The first half sealed it. And you know what? He had a great couple drives in the second half, but Josh Allen is moving on. He's going to get points. Maybe not from me. He's going to get points in his favor because he has not won an MVP vote yet. And then additionally, if he goes on and beats the Chiefs, then it's all but locked up. Because as much as we want to say regular season award, this shouldn't matter when it comes to playoffs. It's not true. Like it's going to be a constantly evolving discourse. That's how Lamar won it last year. Everyone was playing like garbage until December, and then he strung out 4 huge wins against top teams in the NFL and sealed it before the playoffs happened. We didn't have that this year. We had 2 guys head-to-head. They meet in the divisional round. One guy wins, one guy loses. They both play adequate. You have to give it to the winner. Tie goes to the runner in this point. It's pretty unsatisfying, I'll say that, to have it come down to this, in my opinion, but Lamar did not do enough, and that's unfortunately what the toxic community will say about him. A Lamar truther, pulling for him, but disappointed.
I thought you were Josh Allen.
Oh, no, I'm a staunch Lamar defender when it comes to the morons online. When it comes into Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson MVP race, then I will probably lean Josh Allen. But I am a Lamar Jackson truther, and all these slobbering morons that are dying for him to fail.
Well, I'm not dying for him to fail,
that's
but
who I'm against.
But he is Joel Embiid. I mean, he could not be any more the NFL's Joel Embiid. He couldn't.
It's getting tough.
Now he just needs to start next season with an injury and miss a bunch of time and then punch a reporter in the head. That's
yeah, it was just
Lamar. Make it happen.
Remember that story first broke? He annihilated.
He killed a guy.
I'm like,
what happened? Yeah, there
there
was no context. It's like, oh, by the way, this guy went out of his way to attack a dead family member and then instigate.
Yeah, and there was like one guy that could give a source out. So we're just waiting on him to give an update. And it's like, oh no, it was just like a shove.
Joel Embiid shot and killed a reporter. That was what it felt like. It's like, this seems like we're missing some information here. Could somebody please provide an update? Yeah,
anybody but this guy. Who else was there?
One of the worst coverages of a locker room incident. Of course, like a media member like overblows an interaction between a player and a media member. Like they're going to because they've never seen real.
The locker room fell silent. Who could even imagine?
But like most reporters and media people haven't been in fights before. They haven't been in locker rooms in that context where dudes are shoving each other after a loss and yelling at each other full throat and the doors are locked and you can't get in there and all you hear is just things breaking and smashing. They don't know what that's like. So they think that that's some impossible thing to have occurred. Yeah, I forget who that one guy is who provided the initial reporting on it, but that guy sucks.
That was really bad. And it was a pretty fun story for 30 minutes speculating what happened.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Joel was like completely in the right. You had to have known that Joel was in the right for shoving a dude because he's one of the most like level-headed, nicest stars in the NBA.
Yeah, he's a bit of a troll, but he's never been like a dude that's like a bad person. Like there's a difference, and I think sports fans obviously blur those lines a good amount.
Another reason, I think personality-wise, him and Lamar Jackson are similar because they're both kind of goofy. They're both like when Joel's not hurt, he kind of comes off as very happy and giddy. So does Lamar. I mean, that's a 1-to-1 comparison. If he never wins a Super Bowl, he will forever be the Joel Embiid of his time.
I will look. That's a fine argument. I'd say if he doesn't win a Super Bowl and Joel Embiid never wins a championship,
which he's not going to.
I would have Lamar in the Hall of Fame before Embiid in the Hall of Fame.
Really?
In the respective Hall of Fames. Yeah,
I don't agree with that. I would put Embiid in the Hall of Fame around the same time. I think they're both first ballot guys.
I don't think Embiid's a first ballot guy.
Come on.
This is the NBA. What did you do? NFL, you have to respect that Lamar was so different and unique and
I don't know if I agree with that.
He's genuinely the best rushing quarterback of all time, and he can throw the rock. So I have to give him his flowers there. Good, regular, non-mobile quarterback. His mobility puts him into a whole different category.
All right, we're going to get out of here. At Joe DeLeone, at Sanderson Radio, at Hack City Pod. We'll talk to you folks later. Enjoy the rest of your week.